is the last Monday in July. Welcome in to the Amazing Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. I'm dog sitting here today. I got all kinds of animals in and around the studio. You may hear some barking in the back. Oh, there it is. Right on cue, some barking in the background. Scar, how you doing?
Yeah, Denny, I'm just thinking, man, the boys, I think, are lining up Wednesday, they report. And as a football player and a football coach, guys that played and coach, they're 2 days away, and it's like you just really I don't know, you go into maybe a little bit of a depression because you know what's coming. You got 4 months, if things go right, 4.5 months of a lot of football, a grind, man. So that's about to jump off. Where it's just football, man, football and school, and that's all that's happening. And that's about to kick off here in a couple of days, 48 hours for these Michigan football players.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of the players. I know they report. They might have some of that. I get anxious, that it's finally getting ready to go. But, right, I don't have to, get up.
Eddie, you don't got to go, 6 in the morning until 10:30 at night for the day. I mean, it's a grind for coaches too. So sure. Both, I've been both, and you have to get, it's just you really got to get mentally ready because you know what's coming, man.
Yeah, well, it's exciting for everyone else. I know they got to go through that, and good luck to them. I know they're reporting even before that. So it's here, it's ready. We're ready to turn the calendar, and we know what August is like. A lot of people get excited that, that's like they're going to reporting. What's the news? It's like, okay, I don't know how much, of the news. They go in and, they work really hard for 2 weeks to kind of figure out. Those coaches are probably anxious to see, they've seen a little bit and they hear some things. But I would imagine that these next 2 weeks, there'll be some movement in the 2 deep, the 4 deep, with this team as guys move around and they are able to. I mean, this is why they do all the off-season conditioning and everything else, is to get ready for when camp opens up so they can get out there and maybe get some PT come fall.
Yeah, when I was playing, there really wasn't much movement after spring ball. I mean, we only had 3 weeks. These guys have a little more time, I guess, to maybe make a move on something. But once it was established after spring ball, but again, these guys have a lot more time to make a move because they're, here we are July and they're getting ready. So,
Yeah, well, there's always the injury factor there. So,
yeah.
They get ready to play it out anyways when it goes into there. Well, we've got a few things to talk about, even though I just said there's probably not a whole lot that's, when they're getting ready to report. You've got the rest of the conference, and we didn't get Scar's impressions of what happened in Vegas with all the different coaches talking about their teams and the campaigns coming up. We did watch a little bit of film of John Mateer, the quarterback for Oklahoma last week, but that's when he was playing at Washington State. This week, we actually go to a game from last year that Oklahoma played in, and we have the fun and entertaining and educational film analysis from Jim Scarcelli. But let's start out. We got a lot of different things going on in college football and with Michigan, and why don't we start right there, Scar, with the Michigan versus Western Michigan game. Looks like that's going to happen next year. Frankfurt, Germany, week 0, August 29th. And they will be playing over in Europe. What's your
there's a lot going on there. The big thing I wanted to see, make sure that these players will have an opportunity to at least do something in Germany, get somewhat of a little, get something out of it. And there's going to be a 2-week gap, right, between that game and the next game. Is that?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. So anyway, I like the idea of taking our players, seeing the world. Those are good things. That's big. It helps recruiting. Some of that stuff helps recruiting. I did talk last week how I talked to Klein. I talked to the big fellow, the big tight end at that function last week. And I asked him about, and he said that, Michigan it's real. There's a German thing going on there. Okay. The Wagner brothers, and we recruited guys from Michigan in football. We got the big kid, It's number 76. What the hell's his name? Big defensive. What's his name?
Manuel Bagel.
Okay, and we've had other dudes too.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so this will help recruiting in Germany and all of Europe. It'll help Michigan. Okay, if there's a kid, these young 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids that are playing football, Michigan is there playing. No one else is playing. So there's a small factor that it can help recruiting, and I think we've already made our mark with a lot of German players in a lot of sports. So that's the upside of that. It does take time, Danny, to get back, 8-hour time difference, but because we have that little gap there, it should be, we'll adjust. And anyway, there's upsides for recruiting and seeing the world. And I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think the positives of playing there, it depends, when you're a fan. If you own a business in and around Ann Arbor, I could see why you would think it would be a negative. If you were a fan that is not going to travel, but you love to go to Michigan home games, there's only so many of those games, obviously, in a year, and this takes one of those away. So those things would be the negative. From a player standpoint, you do have to travel over, 8,000-9,000 miles round trip, when you're going there. That is a lot, but you get that extra week. Maybe they'll get an extra day or two. Maybe they'll take a little trip down to Bavaria or something, to check out some of that. That could all be cool. And the travel part, it's if they had to play the very next week, that would be no good. But since they get an extra bye, that should be fine. That should be fine being over there.
It's planned out. And then don't underestimate the long-term benefits in recruiting for all sports for Michigan in Europe, in Germany. It'll have an impact that could help all sports and even the university. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this decision. It's not just football. There's a lot of ways that the university can benefit from this. So
yeah, and the first thing that you think of that I thought of is that they make so much money on a Michigan football home game, whatever those contracts and the TV contracts, they must be getting, it must be worth their while financially also to go over there. And so I wonder if they raised their hand or if there was just this thing like the TV gets to pick it, but you will get compensated. Those are all things that are interesting. 2 years ago, I don't remember. It might have been the Chiefs. I don't remember the two teams, but there was an NFL game in Germany, and Peter King, the longtime NFL writer, he had his podcast. I think he's done with his podcast now, but that was just, he went over there, and I was listening to him on an interview, and the interviewee was all against it. He's like, I'm so tired of these games. The guy was just tired of the games and everything else. As the Mad Dog, he's tired of everything. A lot of times, but they don't even know what's going on with football. But King was impressed from top to bottom with everything that went on with the football culture, with the fans, the setup, the stadium, everything that went on. And he's not over there to just BS and, be part of the, some kind of, propaganda or anything. He was just giving his opinion. And, he liked, I have found when you watch the NFL games over there, it's a totally different experience, and that'll be a little adjustment for the fans and the players, the Michigan fans that go over there. It's not like a football game, where you cheer a little bit and then you sit down and you look at a cheerleader. Soccer fans, which the majority of those people will be in there, they just get in there, they get wasted, and they just start screaming, the whole time. It's a constant like yelling and bell. It's not really with the flow of the game at all. So it is a strange thing. And to get an adjustment if you're a fan, and maybe for the players too, where they'll just look up there and they'll be like, why is everybody just, you're used to them getting excited when something positive or, negative or whatever happens. But the soccer fan will be over there and they'll just be screaming just to scream. It's a strange experience that way.
Anyway, Mad Dog's he's not getting it because football is growing there, man. We got a couple former Michigan coaches coaching in Germany and Europe. Ed Warner is coaching. He's an offensive coordinator, one of them German teams. Jimmy Herman, my old teammate, is a head coach of one of them German teams. So football is growing there, man. They're paying these coaches, they're paying players, and there's a lot there. Denny, Justin Tress. I'm following. Saw some things online. I saw some things that the players were saying. He's getting respect. He has I just saw a lot of players that really giving him love online. So it looks like Denny, that was his first year leading, man. And just like Sharon Moore, he's going to improve big time. I wasn't nowhere near the second year. I was a much better coach, much better head coach. It's one thing being an assistant. Okay. Sharon Moore's never been a lead, the guy. Justin Tress has never been the guy. But now they're in their second year. And I noticed it with Sharon Moore speaking too. I think he's better. And I just want to give some love to Tress because I think he's getting it done. He's getting love there. In fact, Danny, I want to just keep going on Sharon Moore here real quick because I don't know if you talk. I want to talk about the comments I heard at the Big Ten meetings there, and I love the things he was saying. And I was talking last week how there was a guy that's coached at a bunch of places. He talked about Michigan. The kids really love each other and they're about team and all this. And he made reference that it was because of Ann Arbor and the winged helmet. And I said, no, man. It's about the leader. So when I heard Sharon Moore talking, he's got it all over that weight room. He's got team above me. Team above me. That's like the motto. That's like the battle cry. So he's pounding team at these kids, just like Schembechler. Team in Michigan. We heard it all day long. Team in Michigan. So he's pounding that. He said it many times. He said the word team many times in his little speech. I love that word. I love hearing that word. He talks about, and Sharon Moore talked about behavior and academics and culture, and that's how you get that emphasis on team and Michigan. And so those are values that you just don't always take it for granted that that the coach is gonna he's gonna emphasize those values. So I just love hearing the team, and he even referenced Bo. I think he mentioned reference to the team is Bo at his little speech there. So, he heard that from Harbaugh because he never heard that before. Sharon Moore never heard that. He's carrying on what he heard Jim say for 6 years. And he's just, and that's what Jim heard Bo say for 5 years. So this stuff is, it's you just don't take it for granted. That's all I'm saying. And I loved hearing it. I loved hearing him pound the hell out of that word team. And I think he's a better speaker, and he's got it together for year 2.
Yeah, that was one of my takeaways as well. Sharon couldn't have looked any better or sounded any better, and everything that he talked about with the team. There was nothing where you thought, "Oh, I wish he would have said that." If I would have evaluated everything that he said, I would have said, "Oh boy, he's really hitting the points. He's really got it, and he understands what he's doing up there and how he represents Michigan. He does a great job, and he has done a better job. And he it's part of being the head coach, being able to communicate, and then being able to demand the respect of your team and the locker room. He does all those things. He's always had that command, and he's just that second year up there being able to be more comfortable. I thought he did a pretty good job last year, but he hit all the notes that you were looking for if you were a Michigan fan. So I'd give him an A.
Yeah, Danny, a couple other thoughts here before we get into some stuff, get into your list. Or Dusty, we gave Dusty May an extension. Dusty's a flat-out stud. Ward Manuel hit the jackpot there. This guy is coaching, and he's recruiting, and he's got players in there. He's got great assistants, so we're up and running that basketball team. They talked about Eno Etta up to 320. The coaches keep talking about Eno Etta. He didn't play a ton in the I don't know that he even played. Maybe he was hurt in the spring game. He's a big mystery. He was a highly recruited kid. You see that dude on the hoof, you're like, man, this guy he's got the measurables. So they say he's up to 320. And I just wanted to mention that the coaches keep talking about him. Denny, the fact that the coaches continue to talk about a guy, tells you that they still have plans for him.
Yeah, about what they, say about each individual player. I didn't hear anything negative about anyone. They've got they're 4 deep at least at edge. They're 6 deep at tackle. They're 6 deep at linebacker. I mean, effusive praise for the corners, safeties. I mean, so it's good. And I know it's one of those things. What are you going to say? Like, I'm a little worried about the tackling of the corners or something, or we're inexperienced there, whatever. I mean, it all plays hand in hand. But listening to him, the defense, you could tell he felt very confident about their prospects on defense. Over at left tackle, there's 2-3 guys. I hope that whoever it ends up being, it ends up seizing the job and is going to be over there for the whole season, over at left tackle, whether it is going to be Link, whether it's going to be Babaloa. They mentioned Frazier over there, 3-way battle.
And you heard the coaches mention Frazier's name?
He was asked specifically about Blake Frazier, and he said, yeah, he's working at left tackle. And then he said right in there with Babaloa and right in there with Link.
Well, that's good that he's developing, because I met him when he was going through the recruiting process. I didn't know where he stood. His dad was a great player. So just, this is a very important time for a lot of players.
Yeah, he's in the mix. Michigan did today, if you were, look at Michigan fans are on top of everything. They did pick up a punter from Division II Clarion in Pennsylvania. I'd never heard of that. John Calipari, the basketball coach at Arkansas, played his college ball there. But they had Hudson Hollenbach, who kicked in the bowl game. He did a pretty good job. And then there was a kid from Missouri I thought that they had, but it doesn't look like whatever happened there, he's not in. So they get a kid named Hunter Robertson, who from Huntington Woods in Berkeley, Michigan, and he's got 2 years left, so he's in the mix there. So you got some punting depth behind Hollenbach, who I am assuming that he's going to be the guy when the season opens. But mark him down in your depth chart if you had Marlon Klein, Scars guy, as the number 2 punter.
Well, good, Denny. I just got some thoughts about rotation. We people talk about rotation, how important it is. And I think Michigan plays probably 27, 28 guys on defense, guys they consider almost like starters. So the most important time for depth and rotation is really early in the year when it's hot. That's when you need bodies. That's when you like to have bodies to rotate in, because it's a whole nother deal. You go, you really go 3, 4, 5 plays full speed on defense. It's great to come out. And the downside of rotation, though, is when it starts to get a little cooler. I just know, as a guy who was a starter and a backup, when you're the starter, it's great to get, the sweet spot would be about 50, 55 reps in there, snaps. I played games where I was like 80. It gets to be a lot, especially if there's some heat, but because you get a feel for the game, Denny, like if I'm the starter and you're the backup, sometimes 50-50, you don't always get a good feel for the snap count, just all the little things that are going on, taking snaps. So I just wanted to throw that out there in terms of rotation. The upside is really important early in the year with the heat. And then it gets to a point where you want your starters to get a few more reps than the backups.
Yeah, I think that's one part of the Oklahoma game. If you had 3, as you call them, lamb chops, you could just put this, this thing on, constant rotation and, all of that. But they've got to be in top form and ready to go for that particular game. And then also that road game at Nebraska. I mean, they got to be pretty close to their top form right off the bat. There's no easing into things like they did in those back-to-back years in 22 and 23 where, I could have been drawing up the schemes and everything else. Can't do that with this time around in Oklahoma. That's what that game does.
Denny, I was talking about this game today. I remember, we were 6-5, 1984, not even ranked in the top, and not ranked for nothing. And we beat Notre Dame game 1, but game 2, man, we went to South Carolina in the heat. They were ranked number 3 in the country. We went down there, put the whoop down on them. So maybe this is going to be the same kind of year, not the best year last year, but going to Oklahoma, they'll be ranked a little bit. They got the big quarterback coming in, and maybe we can make that happen. I was just thinking that maybe that get the same magic. Then Indiana is a team I'm seeing all over the place in recruiting. So this guy's recruiting high school kids. Indiana is on the map in recruiting. It seems like they're going to be a bigger threat than some of the other people that we used to deal with all the time. It seems like they're doing better recruiting than Michigan State. So that's that. I just want to throw that out. And then one last thing on recruiting, yeah. Danny. Hitter. Looks like Hitter.
Hider.
How do you say it?
Hider.
Anyway, we're hoping. I looked at his film, man. This dude is, that's what we want. We want a guy that is fast, physical. He'll run you. He'll knock you. He's a tough kid, man. He'll make you miss. So I totally see why he's such a highly recruited kid. Hopefully he picks Michigan, man. I looked at his film, and Tony offers. Tony, you got to earn your money now, man. If we got equal money, he was brought over as a great recruiter. He signed Zeke. He signed a lot of great running backs in his years with the Buckeyes, and he's the main guy there. Hopefully, Alford can earn his money, man.
Yeah, hopefully. Or the kid that they got, the 3-star out of Columbus, Jonathan Brown, he ends up being a tremendous player that they looked at, and that they can develop into someone, which they've done with a lot of different 3-star backs. But at this point right now, you got the 4 teams out there. Maybe Tennessee would be in the lead. Sometimes it seems like Michigan is. Ohio State and Georgia, I wouldn't count either of those teams out. So I don't know if the money is all equal. It's never really equal. Somebody's, going to make a late push there. And when I see things, so there's nothing against any recruiting analyst that, has all their sources and anything else. But when I hear it's not about the money, it always makes me think it is about the money. So I think money is a gigantic factor in of the recruitment of Hyder, whether he says it's not or whether everybody else says it's not. I've watched enough sports to know that it is. It's almost always the deciding factor. So how much, they want to keep going and going and going and playing off of each other. I like the kid, how he's playing the game, but so we'll see. I want to ask you about this question from Mark, which I watched get a lot of play over on the Maize and Blue Review on the Den. And it was Pro Football Focus who came out with their top 10 defenses for the upcoming season, and everybody was hopping mad that Michigan wasn't in the top 10. Like this is some kind of injustice. Now, my thought is that, Michigan they were top 5 against the run last year overall in defense, but they were a top 20, I think 19 in total defense. When you want to look at it, you look at the points per game, they were, top 19. So, thinking that it's crazy when they lose Grant and Graham and Will Johnson, that it's some injustice by Pro Football Focus or some slight on Michigan. I don't necessarily see that. Also, I think that you can get to all of your goals. You could make the playoffs. Hell, you could win it all with not necessarily having a top 10 defense. You're close to that. Top 15, you could get it done. So I don't think there's any reason for fans. I mean, but look, you want to get excited and mad. Pro Football Focus doesn't know what they're talking about, whatever that you want to do. But Scar, go ahead. I mean, do you think that?
Well, Danny, we've been great the last 4 years, and I think we've been good on defense the last 4 years. And I think this year will be our edge room depth-wise. I mean, we got 4 or 5 guys that can play.
Yeah,
we've had good edge rooms with Hutch and Ojabo and all these dudes, but I think our edge room will be as good as it's ever been. I think our inside linebacker room depth. I'm talking like depth. I think we've done a better job of building depth over the years. So our edge room, as good as we've ever been. Our inside backer room, as good as it's ever been. Depth, 4 or 5 guys that can play. Our secondary will have depth, good players. Is there Will Johnson out there? Maybe not, but there's damn good players there. A lot of guys that can play. I think the big thing, if these clowns that are doing it, if there's anything they're looking at, is like how good are we going to do replacing Mason Graham and Kenny Grant? How good are those dudes? So that was the question I have too. I think we have good players there. We got a lot of good players there, and I think Benny's going to have a great year. And we got good depth there at those positions. Mason Graham's a special kid, man, and Kenny Grant. But Denny, I've seen it at Michigan since I've been watching for 50 years. Just because you think one guy's gone, guess what? Here's another dude that you didn't really know that much about. He's going to get a shot. So our defense could be it could be a top 10, top 5. It could be the top defense in the country versus the score when it's all said and done. If we secure the football and don't turn it over and put our defense in bad position. So I'm fully confident our defense is going to be solid.
Yeah, if they play like they did at the end of the year, at the beginning of the year this year, then, they could be a top 5 defense and all of that. And, I was thinking kind of the same things. And then Texas came in and, rolled them up pretty good. But, Wink did get to them after that. So there's a lot of reasons to be positive. I think the biggest one is actually what Mark said. Sure, they did great against Ohio State. And that was one of the great defensive performances at Michigan ever. But Graham and Grant and Johnson and maybe some others, if we think about it, did not play in that bowl game against Alabama. And they just had, I think, Amir Hall. Everybody else is back. So they've got a lot of returners. I mean, they don't have 10 out of 11 return, but they did in that game. So that would be something. I would just say, Scar, for all the times that we've worked on here, you always say, who's they? What is this media? And you're calling Pro Football Focus clowns. The clowns that you talk about are guys like they go and they talk to former coaches and former players, and they give them the evaluation tools to go, and that is part of how they go through and grade each individual play and each individual player and come up with some of their formulas and what they do. So I don't know, you're kind of like, I feel like you need to turn that mirror around when you call those guys clowns.
Okay, well, I don't know who they are. I'd have to see what the hell who they are, what they know.
That's right. That's right.
If there's some dude like Paul Feinbaum, I'm sorry, man. I'm not giving him much credit. So I want to see.
Yeah, it's not a guy like Paul Feinbaum.
Well, they're college coaches that get in there and understand what we got coming back. They know our team. Well, hey, that's fine. I don't buy a lot of that stuff, Denny, because we don't know how well these kids are going to improve, man. There's hidden gems, man, that are going to get that chance, man. I seen it 100 times, Denny. Oh, this great player graduated and then, well, what do they got? And then you're like, who the hell's this dude? He's just as good. That's Michigan, man. You graduate great players. This ain't reform school, man.
Yeah, but, that's Michigan, but isn't that Ohio State? Isn't that Clemson? Isn't that you go down the list of?
That's right. I get it. Well, we're going to see.
They're all saying the same thing.
I get it. We're going to see how well, because I think the inside guys are probably the only 2 positions that these evaluators will say, hey, Graham and Grant were good. What do you got? Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing is, we don't have to wait very long because week 2, we'll find out. I wonder how good they're going to be against the run. Yeah, they like all 6 guys in there. Obviously, neither of them are none of them are Graham or Grant, but we'll see. They get the Cal transfer at running back. If Michigan comes up there and slams the door shut, then all of Michigan fans talking about let's send some mean tweets Pro Football Focus's way. I'll be right there with them.
Hey, Danny, listen, the big thing about defense, too, in terms of stats, that doesn't get enough emphasis. I try to educate people. That's why Iowa always is so good in defense versus the score, because they huddle, they just kill clock, they run the football. So if our offense is going to kill clock, run the football, secure the football, score points, put drives together, keep our defense off the field. And if we got great special teams and we got all of those things help defensive stats. So, when people keep talking about Texas, how much did we control the ball in that game? How many long drives did we put together offensively to keep our defense off the field? So you got to always look at all that stuff when you look at stats in terms of a defense.
Yeah, Texas might not be the best game, stats or eye test or whatever else. I mean, Michigan couldn't stop them doing anything. That game was over by halftime. I mean, they got punched in the mouth and they got.
Hey, look at this comment from Rashid here. He's right on, man. That's the same thing I said when Aiden and Ajabo. Oh, what do they got? How are they going to replace those guys?
That was a great point. And I would also put that out there. It was like when Harbaugh started talking about it, he's like, we just got loads of talent. I mean, he was like, we got them coming from everywhere, and I was like, wow, man, he really loves the defense. So that's a little bit how Sharon sounded in Vegas. Like, oh man, he's got guys coming out from everywhere. So,
well, we've seen it in the spring game. Scar is believing it. Then I just want to comment on something real quick. I read all the Maize and Blue guys, what they write. And Trevor had some thoughts on the linebackers. I totally agree with them. Hausman with Rolder as the backup, Barham with Sullivan as the backup. But then you got a lot of good players there with depth. I'm just going to continue to say Boateng is going to be a guy he's going to pass some of those other depth guys that are older. Because I think you get to the point as a coach, I've said it last week, I just want to say it again, or a couple of weeks ago, I think you want to start working on developing young guys. When you got reps to give and you've got 4 other dudes that are already your solid first and second team, and now you want to start working on getting reps for another player, this is where I think Boateng is going to be there. And then he said, I think, you got to really look at intelligence when you look at inside linebacker. It's just such a big thing at that position. I think that's why some guys play and some guys, because you're in the middle of it, man, and you got to get everybody lined up. So anyway, those are my thoughts on linebacker. I think we've got a lot of great depth, and Trevor was all over it.
Yeah, I'm with you. You look at the linebackers, and we know what Ernest Hausman brings to the table. Jason Barham, I think he doesn't get talked about a lot, but if we wanted to sit here and say, man, he versatile, he could be the star. He could be the star of the Michigan defense. That wouldn't be a bad pick to say Barham. You mentioned getting passed up and all the, Rolder, when he's been healthy and you watch some of the games over the past 3 years, the big games, you'll watch, and as a freshman, you'd say, well, this is a big game. And who's that? It's Rolder. Rolder played in big spots in big games. They really like him. He just gets hurt all the time. And then listening to, out of all of the praise that came from Sharon Moore in Vegas, nobody got more praise or singled out more, and that was called a freak, and that he was an absolute freak, and that he was going to take the college football world by storm. Cole Sullivan, that's what Jerome Moore said about him. So, I think the NOB looks very promising as well. You made a good point how he could be a standout on special teams. I just don't know how, you start talking about all those guys, how he's going to fit in there. But you're a good enough player, you find a way to get on.
Yeah, he's got to listen. He's got to. The thing that I know, coach and linebacker, Danny, I've watched Roller develop. You got to be in the right gap. You got to be in the right spot. It isn't always about the biggest, fastest, strongest, most athletic dude at that position. Everything happens so fast in there. So when I've watched Rolder, I saw early on when they threw him in there as a freshman, he wouldn't be in the right gap all the time. But I think they have faith in him that he's going to be in the right spot. And the other kid, Sullivan, you know what he reminds me of, Denny? The big linebacker the Lions got. Big Jack Campbell. He reminds me of that type of a kid. Big, strong, smart, in the right gap, can take on 300-pound linemen. And when I watch Sullivan's film in that spring game, I see a smart guy that's dissecting plays that gets into the proper gap. And it's hard to get that, Denny, from all I played with guys and coach guys that were, you want to play them at linebacker because they look the part. They're big, fast, strong, tough, and athletic, but they just don't dissect things to get in the right gap. So we got to move you to defensive tackle or something. I've had it many times, and I saw it as a player and as a coach.
Yeah, I like the Campbell comp. He's from Pennsylvania. He loves the Steelers. He loves T.J. Watt. I remember asking him about T.J. Watt. He was shaking his head. He loves T.J. Watt. Not a surprise. That's his hometown guy, but Campbell is a pretty good one, and we have all seen him play. Scar, I've got some numbers that I wanted to put up from ESPN Bet about winning the Big Ten, and you see a lot of people saying, "Oh, Penn State." I've seen Illinois as a dark horse. We know that there'll be this year's Indiana. Of course, Indiana, didn't win the Big Ten, but there it is. OSU, Penn State, Oregon. There's Michigan has the fourth best odds to win it. But that next group, USC, Nebraska, and Illinois, those three teams, I think one of those teams will be a dark horse and make a little run at the college football playoff. I'm inclined to think USC if I had to pick one. Any thoughts there on all those Vegas numbers that you see up there?
Yeah, I see how they're thinking, and they must not have a whole lot of faith. Interesting. Oregon is, they must not have a whole lot of faith in Dante Moore. Mm-hmm. But Oregon's every bit capable to win every freaking game they play. So is Ohio State. So is Penn State. Penn State's got the quarterback back. OSU, has got the good, highly recruited quarterback that is a hell of a player. Michigan, we got one question mark, and if we get that thing answered quickly and with confidence in game one, and we go to Oklahoma, whoever's whatever our quarterback situation is, I mean that can be a great bet if Bryce or whatever we have at quarterback, because that's the only question with Michigan. Otherwise,
Michigan to win the Big Ten or Michigan to beat Oklahoma.
Okay, first of all, I'll answer that other question. Michigan's got every opportunity to beat Oklahoma next week. I saw that. I think Ferris had that question. Hell yes. I mean, why not? What do they got? I looked at their talent. We're going to look at that film from last year. I think we got. We're not going to get outgunned with talent. I think you're right about USC, Nebraska, Illinois. I think I'm big on Nebraska. I don't know what their over-under is on the amount of games they're going to win, but they got the quarterback back. He started 13 games. Matt Rule is always better at year 3, whatever he is. But no, those are my thoughts. Yeah, it looks, no one giving Wisconsin love down there. He got the kid from we got to play Wisconsin, Denny, and they brought that quarterback in from Maryland who was, I think, a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's a team, and Fickle's a coach, man. He built Cincinnati, so we don't know, but
so like Wisconsin is a little dark horse over there on that right side. I mean, it's tough to pick one of those teams over there on the right side, but you picked one way down there as well. So I like that.
I mean, hey, there's so many good coaches there, man. It's like God, you just don't know what they're going to do.
No, there's a lot.
You look at that coach on that right column. Jed Fish, a hell of a coach, and you got UCLA. He's second year now. He's got the quarterback, and you got a proven winner at Michigan State with a good quarterback now, and PJ Fleck, damn good coach. Schiano at Rutgers, he's a proven winner. Wisconsin got a proven winner. Loxley, I don't know how many years he's going to keep getting. I don't know. He's been there, but I'm gonna give you a winner, Danny. I told you I got Northwestern.
Oh, winner.
I'm going to give you a winner right now.
Let's go.
Northwestern is getting 6.5 going to Tulane. I got the Cats. Getting 6.5 going down to Tulane, going down to New Orleans. I like the new Northwestern coach. I think he'll have every bit as much talent, if not more. 6.5, too many points. So I got the Cats game 1. That's the only pick I got right now.
That a week 0 game? So
I don't know what it is, but
okay.
it's that there's money to be made there, and we're gonna. Well, we talked about Coach Prime. Sounds like he's cancerous. He beat it, right? From the word.
The report was that Coach Prime had bladder cancer. He had his bladder removed. I think that he is still planning on coaching this year. So
okay.
He's cancer free. That was the report, and that he's planning on coaching. But we'll see how that. I didn't see. I just read about it, so that was it. I didn't see the actual, but that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, you got Natty odds up here.
Yes.
Ohio State's got every bit as much talent as anybody in the country. Same with Texas. Penn State's got talent with the quarterback. Georgia's got talent, reputation. Clemson's got the quarterback. I don't know I don't know if he has the kind of talent compared to those guys in front of him like he's had in the past. Well, Dabo, he didn't want to go into the portal. Notre Dame's got all kinds of talent. Notre Dame, Brian Kelly might have made a mistake if he knew the money was coming. He wanted to go to LSU. He didn't know, that all that money was going to be a big factor like Notre Dame has. You know what I mean, Denny?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Notre Dame's got money, man. And hopefully Carr's kid, I know Jason, I'd like to see Jason's kid get the start. They're everybody, that's the talk. Alabama's Alabama. I don't know what they got, but yeah, there's a big jump.
If I had to pick a national championship game, that's hard to do. If I had to pick it right now, I would pick Clemson and Texas. Those would be the two teams that I would pick. What about you?
If Denny, I'm going to be honest. If I'm looking at this, Michigan's plus 3,000. Why are they different what's different between them and Penn State? Plus 600. What's the difference? They got
Penn State is a returning quarterback.
That's it. That's all they got is a quarterback. I mean, we don't know. We might hit the jackpot with Bryce combination Keen Bryce. I don't know, but from a talent standpoint, all the other positions, I mean, we're right there. So from a money standpoint, paying that kind of money on your bet, I almost think, and I'm not just being a homer here. I'm looking at just from a
right,
from a financial standpoint, because we're poker players, man. We're always thinking pot odds, and I'm looking at odds there. It just seems like a better bet, just because they just and we could even lose the first. We can lose to Oklahoma and still get to the championship game.
Scar likes Michigan. I like it.
I tell you honestly, when I look at that, I'm like, why the hell not? We just, the only question is quarterback, and we might, if we get a great answer there early on, and we have two. I want two of them that can play is what I want.
Give me another one. You got Michigan, then you got the long odds. I like it. I think
I don't know enough about some of them other long odds.
I don't know.
Guys.
Look, Scar, I don't either. You know what I know about Texas? The Arch Manning, and he hasn't really played a lot. I like the talent around him, and I like how they've been able to go into the transfer portal. They've got tons of money there, and so I think that Texas is going to be the team in the SEC. Clemson, the talent that they have on defense, reading about them, they got the quarterback. Dabo's a pretty good coach. I can see them getting there, and so that's why I have them, playing Texas. You've got Michigan. If you had to pick another team, you're going to pick. How about Lloyd Carr? Would love the prediction of you picking Michigan and C.J. Carr's grandson. You were talking in glowing terms about Notre Dame. How about it, Scar? How about Michigan, Notre Dame in the championship game? I like it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I might even think about Oregon because I'm big on Dante Moore. I like those long odds. I think those long odds are good. USC is, who knows? But, good luck. Denny, I don't know enough about their schedules, and I haven't studied their I don't know enough about their quarterbacks and who's back. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is, they're
here's a little tip about those guys and those clowns that you talk about, Scar. Just talk about it with conviction, and people don't know that you've if you looked at every single facet of every single team, it's going to be one of those teams. I got news for you. It's going to be one of these. The two teams that make the college football championship game are both going to be over from this left column. So, you get a 1 in 9 shot, to go ahead and get one of them. So, just pick two teams from over there and say some things that, you like about the coach or, any of the players or anything that it sets up. You did that. Oh,
yeah. South Carolina is a team that could do something. They got a quarterback back. Beamer's
they do have a quarterback back. I like him.
That's a team for the money. I'd have to look at their schedule, but you don't know.
Yeah, my suggestion is don't look at that schedule. Just pick them. Pick them on the talent. Go make that selection. So long shots, Michigan, Oregon, and I've got Texas, Clemson. And you're picking. I like the South Carolina pick over there on that right side. I don't know. I kind of like Florida too, but Florida and SC. But I like SC more.
Yeah, Florida's got that great quarterback back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a hell of an athletic kid. So yeah, you just, Texas A&M got a great coach. That guy's good, man. He's one of the best. Him and Wink are two of the top defensive coaches in the country. Penn, I wonder how much of a factor they're big on Knowles coming to Penn State now.
That's a great question. Great question. How he's going to be able to do there. How about Sam wants to know about Coach Belichick?
Yeah, he brought in a good quarterback from one of those Power Fives. I seen the kid. I think UAB or somewhere. He's a good quarterback. So,
all right.
It's the we'll see how he does, man. I'm interested to see how he gets his players, because he does a lot of things that really you need intelligent players for what Belichick does. He just does a lot of stuff.
That's what he said. I heard the one question to him at their media days. Coach, how do you get these guys to adapt to these NFL schemes that you're throwing at them? He went back and he said, that's what we're trying to do. That's it. That's the question. How can we get them to do that? My question is, how can we get Scar to analyze this film with Oklahoma and Auburn? And I've got the answer. It's Quick Cut Video and Analytics. And it's your place to store, share, and analyze game film as well. Go over there. Check them out. Quick Cut, QWIKCUT. You can be the czar of the telestrator like Scar. Quick Cut Video and Analytics. And with that, we do bring up the game that we are going to look at. And it is Oklahoma and Auburn from last year.
This was game 5 for these teams, and I just found a game I will take a look at. But you get an idea of we'll learn more about their defense, because the defense is the defense, because the head coach is a defensive guy. But here's empty 1st and 10. This just tells you this guy, he likes a lot of empty. So he getting that guy from Washington State, it blends with what he wants to do. Brett Venables is anyway, he's got empty set, got a little fake trap here. This is just good stuff, man. He's got an influence deal. Then he's pulling this guard for no other reason, just to influence and try to get this linebacker flying out of there. That's good stuff, pump fake stuff. So he's got a false pull, and he throws a screen out here, out of empty on 1st down. So, good defensive coaches, normally they got a pretty good idea about offense, and Venable is a good defensive coach. I remember Urban Meyer talking about Venables. He said, this guy, he will run. Most guys have a structure. They're a 4-3, a 5-2, whatever. He said Venables has 3 different packages of what this guy will do. He does a lot of stuff. So, their kid will run. What is this? This is a 3-1 formation. But the one thing I keep noticing that Michigan doesn't do and doesn't really believe in so much is he wants to send his back out. So this is consistent with the guy that's coming from Washington State. He doesn't leave guys in the block. He don't like bringing backs in. So our coaches are looking at this. Our defensive coaches are looking at Oklahoma offensive film. They're looking at Washington State offensive film and try to figure out, what the hell are we going to have to defend?
How about Dave says none of this matters because they have a new offensive coordinator? What would you say to that?
I would say that it does, because Venables is the head coach. That's like saying that, bringing Loxley, bringing Chip in is that Sharon Moore is irrelevant on what he did for the last 7 years at Michigan. And that's not true. You follow me?
Yes, I do. I think that's
okay. Listen, we brought Chip in, and he has to work with Sharon Moore. Okay, Sharon Moore looked at what this guy does and what he believes, and he's like, "Listen, they went over everything, okay, and it's not going to be Chip's show, man, to just do whatever the hell he wants. I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that, because
You're making sense to me.
You put on that North Carolina film. Now here's this is the stuff that that ain't going to change. Here's Oklahoma on defense. This is what they do. We don't do this, rush two guys. But anyway, I'm going to get back to answering that question, Danny, about our offense. Sharon Moore, Sharon would have told Chip, look, I believe in fullbacks and under center and 3 tight ends in the game and 7 offensive linemen at times. And Chip they would have had a long discussion about how they're going to mesh this thing. Okay, so it ain't just Chip's deal. I guarantee you that. So the same thing here, bringing this offensive coordinator in, I don't know how much leeway Venables is going to give them, but it looks like, looking at the film, Venables and the Washington State guy, you look at what they've done so far in this game, they're both spread guys, empty guys. They're not. We don't have tight ends and fullback. Anyway, we hardly ever see this out of Wink, rushing, having 2 down defensive linemen, 3rd and 10. This is Venables stuff. He can bring this guy. He can bring this guy. He can drop him. He can, anyway, this is the stuff we have to prepare for. This is an empty set. This is 4-1. We don't see a ton of this. This is Peyton Thornton, the kid from Michigan State, playing for Auburn there. But anyway, a lot of empty. No, that's him. I'm talking about Auburn. I'm getting confused here. Sorry. But anyway, how does he line up in a job? Okay, so here's a 4-man front. This is Venables. We don't really play with 4 guys with their hand on the ground. Venables does. So that's something different. There's a 4-man hand on the ground defense. They're all looking at the sideline here, Denny. It's 1st and 10, and all looks like maybe 8, 9 of them are looking at the sideline to get the signal. You see all the players looking at the sideline?
Yeah.
So the linebacker has the thing in his helmet, but our coaches are noticing these things. Okay, what signals are they flashing up? And you could still analyze signals, man, during the game. You know what I mean? That's legal. You can do all that stuff during the game. So they're not using the linebacker to make the adjustments through the helmet deal. You know what I mean? So it's just something that, and then do they get lined up? How fast do they get lined up? They're all looking at the sideline, and then the ball is snapped, and are they in the right spots? Just something that our coaches are going to be looking at. Okay, here's a 5-1 look. We do some of this. He's got his linebacker up. 2nd and 7. He's just dropping his linebacker. And no one on the quarterback. So hopefully Bryce can make this happen, man, or whoever we got in there. But our offensive coaches have a little bit of somewhat of an advantage, more so than, because what Venables, you can look at the film and you can study Venables for the last 5 years, and these guys will study everything that this guy's done over the last couple of years. Right. And you'll have a good beat on him, but it's trying to blend what the hell the Washington State guy is going to do with what Venables has done. That's the trick. And, can we run this stuff with Bryce? This is a 4th and goal. Oklahoma gets him stopped here. I give Venables credit here. You get this next view. You get I don't know if he saw this formation, how many times you saw this formation, but they adjust. And this is a great sign of a coaching staff is, you see a formation. I don't know how many times do they see this formation. You got, I don't know if you got a guy over here, and you got 2 blockers here, and you got somewhat of an unbalanced set, and he lines up pretty good to defend it. And they get lined up right, and they stop it. They got an extra linebacker there. So, those are things that I look at and say, you know what? When a team lines up and gets adjusted, Denny, that's a sign of a good defensive coach. DJ Durkin's running that Auburn defense. It really don't matter. I mean, we're not playing him, but that's the old Harbaugh guy. You remember DJ?
Yeah.
Anyway, here's 3rd and 5 coming out. Again, you got 2 big tight ends here in a 3-and-1 formation. But again, he sends the back out. He doesn't really like leaving backs in the block. So let's just be gap sound. Danny, we can keep looking at, I just want to, if you want to just let it run, we can look at film and pick it up on the fly. I don't have a whole lot more charted, but here's 3rd and 7. And they'd run a little pick there. And then, they call that I saw that right away. I mean, this is a penalty. You can't do that. Just runs into the guy. So they bring that one back. That's a penalty. But yeah, you gotta try to mesh what Venables has done with what this new guy is doing. Okay, let's see him on defense here. See, now he's in a 3-4. This is a 3-4 look more. Well, what is this? This guy's up in a stance. These 2 guys are down. This looks like Michigan here a little bit. He could rush. He could drop. What are they doing here? Oh, man, they're in man coverage. They're jacked up. I like seeing teams screwed up, man. All this motion. You see all that little crate. See how the guy's a good offensive coach at Auburn. What's Hugh Freeze, right?
Yeah.
Look at all the Denny. Look at this one dude going in motion. Look at all the headaches he causes. Look at all this. Just one guy going in motion, and you got 4 dudes moving, 3 guys moving. Now they got to adjust back. He's going back, and now it just doesn't seem right. You know what I mean?
Us defensive guys call that eye candy.
Well, it's not just candy, Denny, because you have to adjust. It's candy if it's simple stuff and you don't it doesn't indicate an adjustment.
Yeah.
But yeah, it matters because what they're doing. When he's lined up here, that means one thing. If they snap the ball right here, that means one thing. Okay, when he goes in motion. That means something else. And at what point do you change? When a lot of people do it when he crosses the center. Now you change from doing whatever the hell you did here to whatever now you're doing here. Now he's going back again. You know what I mean? All that stuff it's not just candy if you get people misaligned. And it looked like, they got a little problem over here. They got dudes running into each other. So sometimes that candy, see, look at this guy. He looks screwed up. And he ends up bumping into his guy. He looks jacked up. You see that one dude?
Yeah, that's not the way to play defense.
That ain't eye candy when you got one guy jacked up.
Yeah, it worked.
So it works. And it's all for that's why, that's why I want to get I want Michigan to be the team that does a lot of that bullshit to get people screwed up. Again, there it is again. That's all I got. We got an idea that Venables is a multi-guy. Our coaches will be looking at that. And so I disagreed with the one comment that, we're going to see different stuff. That's just it. It's a guessing game, man. You have to try to prepare Wink has to try to prepare it based on, 13 Washington State films and 13 Oklahoma films.
Yeah, I don't, Ken's saying that OU's not going to keep any of that stuff because he had the worst quarterback and offensive play calls in Oklahoma history. So maybe they will be scrapping more, but it depends.
Well, I get it. The guy may have been bad, but this, that, or whatever. But the offensive, the coach has a philosophy that he believes in, like certain plays. You know what I mean? I'm getting at like certain plays, certain formations that the guy believes in. Venables, everybody has something that they want to hang their hat on, and I get it. They went through a couple quarterbacks last year.
Yeah, when I look at and I think about Oklahoma, and I think about Venables, I see a guy that won a national championship at Oklahoma as a defensive coordinator. He won 2 more with Dabo Sweeney, Clemson. He's a guy who won 3 national championships as a defensive coordinator, and he's intense. He's always over there. He's got the, it's a different game when you're the head coach and you've taken the whole thing. And
well, that Clemson stuff, Denny, when Clemson was winning, they had good players, but they were doing things a lot of guys. I mean, I remember him beating Saban. You know, they were doing a lot of things that were new at the time.
Here's going to be my question to you, Scar. When it first all came out and you were talking about the quarterbacks, a lot of people thought, and I understood this line of thinking, that it would probably be Mikey Keene in the second game, because you don't take a freshman quarterback and send him down there on the road against Venables. Venables will know a lot of things to distract a true freshman quarterback. To me, that's the big question about this game. You know, can Venables, whoever is going to be the Michigan quarterback playing his first game as Michigan, and it looks
but Denny, smart offensive coaches, you can construct your offense in a way to simplify things, to minimize some of the BS the defensive coach can create for you. And no, I get it. You know, you got a young kid. If he's the guy, Venables is going to be licking his chops, trying to figure out, can this kid handle the pressure? How can we screw him up? But smart. That's where our coaches have to be smart. Keep things simple for them. Not make it high risk stuff. Not overwhelming with the mental part of things. Scheme is one thing, but what about our D line versus Oak? Yeah, when you look at the talent, Mark, when I meant to say that when I was looking at that film, I think we got better players, Denny. That's last year. I don't know what the hell he's going to have this year, but just looking at them dudes on the hoof on defense, I just think we got better players. So but we'll know. We watch them game one, see what the heck they open up with, and we'll look at the film and see what they got. But just looking at what they had last year, I thought maybe we got a little better talent at all positions.
Yeah, well, if you just take a step back and you look at, it's we do all of it. Look at the offensive line versus look at all of those things, coaches and everything else, where the game's played. Oklahoma a slight favorite. I mean, this is a game where Michigan's going to have to go on the road and play a pretty good game. They're going to come away with a victory there. I mean, you might like them. That's great. They have a good chance to win the game, but heading down the road, playing a team like Oklahoma at night, it feels like
I'd have a bunch of quarterback run. Danny, I'd have what I'd have for this football game if Bryce is my guy? I'm coming with a little 7 offensive line. Let me see you adjust the 7 offensive linemen. The guy don't have a tough time. He don't play with that kind of stuff that we play with. I'd have a little 6 offensive linemen. I'd have some stuff that they're not comfortable seeing. Try to get them with some motions and some shifts, some simple stuff that Bryce can do if he's the guy. There's ways you help your quarterback, just like I showed you with motion, right? You put that one Freeze put that one kid in motion, they're back, whatever. You got the one kid screwed up, bam, easy pass, right? That's what good coaches do. Is you make things difficult for them and easy for your guy.
Yeah, well, when you say that, we know that Jim Harbaugh did that. I remember when they did it in the national championship game, whoever the broadcasters were like, well, Michigan's done this all year long, putting 6, 7 offensive linemen. When Sharon was asked about Blake Frazier in Vegas, he said, well, it's a battle over there with Link and Babaloa, and Frazier's over there battling. He said, I'll paraphrase him, but he was like, maybe we can get those guys out there, where we have extra tackles.
There you go. I want to get back. I like that stuff, Denny, because especially for these spread guys that never see it, we had Manny Diaz. We ran 30-some plays in a row over there because he didn't really adjust properly the whole damn time. So Why would you get away from it? If your defense is playing great and you're pounding them, I know people get upset, but I wouldn't change jack. If they're not stopping your 7 offensive linemen or whatever kind of stuff you're running, don't change it, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man.
The running game against Oklahoma will get.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I like to get some of that stuff. I'm not talking about running it every damn down, but you blend it in, you pop it in there. You're like, all of a sudden, oh, bam, here's 7 offensive linemen. What's this guy going to do? Did he adjust properly? You don't know. You might catch him, man. It's that one play you catch him, Denny. That one formation. I told you I've gotten beat with one adjustment. I didn't have a good adjustment in one big game, man. I cheated my players. So you got to have your stuff down, man. You got to be stone cold on all your adjustments.
Sounds great.
All right, man. They're buckling up. They're getting ready to go into the submarine, man, in the bunker.
That's it. That means football's right around the corner. I can't
48
wait.
hours, those guys will be bunkered in, submarine, and the grind is about to begin.
Do you go out like some of these guys that are this is a bad comparison. If you're getting ready to go do a stretch in jail, in 48 hours, you go out on the town, have a good time because you're going in.
Danny, when you're a player, yeah, you want to you know that stuff
you
is
have a little fun.
But you don't want to destroy all the work you've done with your body. No. But yeah, anyway, but as a coach, you better make sure that if a roof has to get some little work around the house has to get done, you better get it done because you got no time.
There it is. Yeah, get your work done. I mean, you got a paper you got to write. Get it done.
Yeah, you got some stuff around the house that you've been putting off. You better get it done because when you start looking at film, it's over.
That's it. All right, Scar. Great job.
All right, Big D.
Next week. There he is. Jim Scarcelli. Hit that.